Hi everyone, this is Piyush. Hope you all are doing great and staying safe. This is the fourth session in the series of AWS Security, and today we will be talking about AWS Identity and Access Management and AWS Key Management Service. So let's begin with our first service today, which is AWS Identity and Access Management, which is also called as IAM. So before going in the deep with the IAM, let me just tell you, the IAM is not charging you anything on the AWS. You will only be charged only for the use of other AWS services you used, right? And so identity and access management will enable you to manage the AWS services and the resources on the AWS side, right? It, if we talk about the use cases of the IAM, so IAM will provide you the fine-grained access control to the AWS resources. It's a very important to learn when you talk about the best practices of the security, that always as a administrator or as a security engineer or a security architect, you will also think about the fine-grained access control to the AWS resources. It also provides you the multi-factor authentication required for the different users, and it also provide the you can also use the IAM analyze access to access your AWS environment and so on, right? So how it works? So it there is a three simple step you can understand. Like you can create the IAM user and their access. You can also create the IAM roles and their permissions, and you can also use the federated users, or you can also create the groups for different teams belonging to your system, right? So let's talk about a bit more deep into the IAM. So we already talk about what is IAM. Now we can creating an IAM user in the AWS account, right? So that we will see once we will go to our demo part, then we'll learn how to create an IAM user, roles and group. Okay. And if you heard about access key and the secret key, so user also need to manage their own access key, and they can also use these key with the programmatic calls, with the command line interface and other SDKs, right? And you can also write, or you can also create your policies in the JSON format, okay? And other than that, a few other topics, like you should always have the multi-factor authentication enabled. You have the virtual MFA device enabled, okay? And you have the server certificates, you have the IAM policy, you have the AWS manage policy, you have the custom policy, and so on, right? Yeah, so before going to the demo, let's talk about what we should follow, right? And to achieve the greatest security in the cloud with this particular service, right? Yeah, so the first point is keep your AWS account root user access key safe. So that is very important. So whatever user you create, right, you always have an access key and the secret key associated with it. So by default, the root user, right, you should always keep the root user access key very safe. Second, create the unique IAM users. So if suppose you need to create the multiple users for your organizations, okay, in that case, you should always create the unique IAM user, so that it can be easily tracked on the cloud trails, or somewhere else, that who is logged in and who is accessing what, right? Also, the IAM users, you can grant the required rights to them, and you can also put them into a group if they need a similar kind of access to your AWS account. Also, the best rule to follow is always is allow the least amount of the privileges, right? Whatever required, only that you need to give. Okay, and next we have begin utilizing the permission with AWS managed policies. Yes, you will get a lot of things with the AWS managed policies, but if you still think that the policies or the permissions are not, mentioned in the managed policy, or you just want some, further refinement to that, then what you can do is you can write your custom policies, right? And you can always check the validity of your policies. You can use the customer control policy, which we already talked about, right? And you can always set up the strong password that is always recommended, right, for all of your users. And MFA, we already talked about, always enable the MFA for your users. And access key and the secret key should not be shared with anybody. Okay, that's the key point. And also you need to change your credential very frequently, so that it is also one of the thumb rule for the security measures. And you can always remove the extra credential. And then going further, you should always keep an eye to your AWS account. You can always track with the help of cloud trails and the cloud watch and other monitoring tools. These two we have already talked about in our second session, right? You can go back and have a look to that. How can you secure things with help of cloud trail? And that now we will quickly move to the demo part of IAM. So this is my AWS console, okay? And this is the IAM service. So let's go to the IAM. Now, if you can see on the left-hand side, you have all these options, like you have user groups, you have users, you have roles, policies, identity providers, account settings. Then in the access reports, as we talk about analyzer, right? You have analyzers, you have archive rules and all that. So let's go one by one. So if you see, this is my URL, and this is a customizable URL. You can always customize it or whatever name you want, right? So that can be your sign-in URL for all of your users, right? This is you need not to share the root URL, which is aws.amazon.com. So whoever is the using, who is your IAM users, they can just log into this particular URL. Okay, so let's go to the user group first. Okay, so you can see I don't have any group right now in my account. So what I'll do is I'll create a group. You can give the name. So what I will give is reSkill underscore demo 04. Okay, now you can if you already have the users in place, right, you have an option to add users to the group, right? And this is an optional thing you have here. If you already have users, you can just select them and they will already automatically will attach to this particular group. Now, as I was talking about the policies, right, so you can see in my account I do have few custom policies. Like I play with the deep racer, so I do have these of the deep racers policy. These are customer managed, and we also talk about the managed services, right? So these are the some of the managed services. So suppose I want to give administrator. Okay, so I'm not able to find that. So what I can do is I can quickly check for EC2 full access. Okay, let me provide that and create the group. So the group is there. There's no user. That's why it's showing in red. The permissions are defined. So if you go back to this, okay, click on the permissions, you'll able to see the permissions, right? And you can always add permissions. You can attach the policies, manage policies, and you can also write the policy inline here as well. Okay, let me show you quickly what is inline policy. So in the inline policy, there is two way to create it. One is the visual editor and other format is the JSON format. Okay, so in the visual editor, it's a very easy. It's for those who don't know how to write the JSON, and those who want to just I would say the console lovers, and that if the person is CLI lover and they know the JSON, I think like me, I always follow this particular pattern. But yeah, you can always go here, you can choose your service, then you can choose your action. So suppose I have let me choose EFS. Okay, elastic file system. So all the operations are listed here. So for what operation I want to give the access, right? So suppose I just want to give the list operations, right? And here I can specify the resources as well. And then these are the other additional options that we can always look at. And we can review policy and then we can save it, right? So this is how the inline policy will work. If you want to attach, you can always go back to that particular user group and you can always attach that, right? So here it will list all the users under this particular group. So we don't have any users. So let's create a user as well. In the meantime, click on the add users. Okay, name of the user is demo 4_user001. Okay, now there are two options. What type of access we want to give to this user? It's a programmatic user or it's a management console access, right? So what we can think of is if we want this user credential, in our code, or we want, somewhere in our programming language, we want to enable or we want to embed this user, then we have to go with the programmatic access. It will automatically generate the access key and the secret key for this particular user, and we will be able to use those, right, in our code. Let's so in this session, I'm going with the management console access. So here, once I will choose the management console access, it will ask me for the password. Okay, so there are two options: auto generated password and the custom password. So let's go with the custom generated one. I'll show you. So I can say demo at 1234. Okay, you can always check your password, and then what you can tick off is if you want your user to be reset the password. Okay, once you log in, right, next sign up, yes, I want my user to change the password. Next, the permissions, right? So there are three different ways to add the permission. Like, we can directly add this particular user to the existing group so that all the permissions and the policies applicable to that particular group will automatically applicable to this particular user as well, right? But if we don't want that, what we can do is we can always copy permission from an existing user. So in our case, there is no existing users. Okay, go to the third option, which is attach existing policy directly, right? So these are the, again, AWS managed policies. We can always make use of these. So suppose I want to give the administrative access to this particular user, right? I'll select that and I'll click on next. So keys. So now key and the value. So these are the tags, right? So you can always associate the different tags with your particular user so that it will easy for you to track your different users, right? In your AWS account. So I'm leaving this blank. Now click on the next. Here you can see the complete details, like what is the username, what type of access it is, what type of password you have provided, or the generated or custom. You required a password reset. Okay, permission boundary, we have not set any permission boundaries, and these are the policies, right? We have attached with it. So administrative access and the password change, this comes from here, right? This automatically comes from here. And now we'll click on the create users. So this will create a user for us. Now the user is created. We can always download it. Like, we can always click on download CSV, which will give us the username, password, and the URL, all that stuff. And these are the action performed, right, while creating the user. They have created the user, attached policies, and then created the login profile for the user, right? We can always check this out. You can also send the email to your respective users, okay, with all the details. So now we have user also. Now, if we go to the groups again, and we'll click on our group. Okay, you want to add this to this particular, you can always do that. Okay, so we'll go to this, and you can see on the user side as well, all the details will be displayed here. So this is the user ARN, okay, and creation time, then the group attached or not. Okay, you can always choose, like, you want to add, you can always click add to group. Now you have added the group as well. So whatever the policies and the permission applicable to this group automatically inherited by this user. Okay, the different tags in case of if you are holding thousands of employees, right, and bigger teams, you must need the tags over there. It will become very easy to track everything from the tags. and the security credential, the sign-in link, password, MFA device is not still activated for this particular user. We can do that. Okay, the access key, we can always create the access key because we have not chosen the programmatical access, right? So that's why the access key is not created. We can always create it. Okay, and yeah, that's all. So user groups are there, groups are there. Let's talk about the roles. So IAM role is also the one of the way to, identify you what specific permission with the credential that are, valid for the durations, whatever you want, right? So these are the different roles which I already have in place, but we always create the new. So let's see how to create a new one. We'll click on create new. So there are different type of trusted entities, like for any particular service you want to create, for another AWS account, for web identity, which is like federated user or cognito. And yeah, that is SAML also, like federated users I was talking about. So suppose I again want to create it for EC2. Okay, so let's select EC2 here, and then select the EC2 next permissions. Now it will show all the policies already available. Okay, so I'll again give the administrative access. Next, again, you can attach the tags with your role as well, similar to users in group. Next, you can give the role name here. So there is some instructions for the role name. So please follow this. Okay, use alphanumeric and these characters. Okay. So what this role will do is allow EC2 instance to call AWS services on your behalf. So this is the basic use of roles. Like assuming roles will always help you to, call the different services on the other service behalf, right? Let's create the role. So yeah, this is creating the role, and this is what we have, the demo 1 2 3, right? Let's go to demo 1 2 3 and see what's there. So for the role, again, you can see the role ARN. You can also see the instance profile. Okay, these can directly be used in your CFN templates and wherever required, right? If you are using the infrastructure as a code and anything else in terms of CLI options, right? And you can see always the permissions. You can always see the attached policies. Okay, and yeah, and always you can see the trust relationship. Okay, the trusted entities. So if we added trust relationship, you can see that how which role it is assuming and for which service, right? So this is a trust relationship. You can always edit it, you can customize it as well. Okay, yeah, so this is about the roles. So now we learned about how to create a group, how to create a user, and how to create a role. Let's talk about a policy also a little bit. So as I discussed, right, these are the some of the managed policy you'll always see. Let's talk about the custom policy which I already have in my account. So this is one of the custom policies I have, and you always have a policy ARN with you so that you can use this directly to attach to some of the users or role wherever you want, right? Let's click on the edit policy here. And again, when you click on the edit policy, you always have the two options, the visual editor one and the JSON. So in the visual editor, you can see that what are the actions I already have there in my policy. So for S3 bucket, I do have list all my bucket, actions to be enabled for with this particular policy, and always have the list bucket, get bucket ACL, bucket locations, the put bucket policies, get object. Okay, all these 8 different type of. Okay, and in resources, these are my bucket name like deep racer Piyush. Okay, this is the name of my bucket, my resource, right? Let's see the same policy in the JSON format as well, so that you will be able to relate it, right? So let's talk about the JSON format. So it has the particular format where you have to include the version and the statement. Then you have to use the effect, which has the values like allow and deny. Then all the actions will be listed here. So as you can see in the visual editor, first we have the list all my buckets. So similarly, we have S3 list all my buckets, and then we have 8 different actions in the second operation. So allow 8 different operations. Now uh, we have the resource section here, and also in the JSON format, we have the resource section here. Okay, so this is the resource section. You can always change it. So this is how you can do it. And the good part about this is if there is any syntax changes or is there any syntax issues, it will always trigger an error to you, always pop up with an error. So and without removing that, you won't be able to uh, save this particular policy. Okay, so once you click that, you can always review it. Okay, and you can always mark it as a save once you're done with your changes, right? So this is how the policies and the custom policies works. Okay, yeah, so this is all about the IAM users, roles, policies, and permissions. Let's talk about our next services, which is KMS. So let's talk about the key management service. So key management service will make easy for the customer to create and manage the cryptography keys and control the wide range of AWS services and the applications, right? And it is also compliant with FIPS 142, which is which is validated by this, and key is also integrated with the CloudTrail to provide you the logs of the keys for your compliance need and monitoring needs, right? And before moving further with the KMS, let's talk about the different type of keys provided by the KMS. So when we go to the console for a demo, like how to create the key, we will see the two options over there, symmetric keys and the asymmetric keys. Okay, so what to understand with the symmetric keys and asymmetric keys? So symmetric key represent a single 256-bit secret encryption that never leaves the AWS KMS unencrypted. Okay, and whereas asymmetric key represent a mathematical related public key and the private key pair that you can use for encryption and decryption or verification, but not for both. Okay, and the private key never leaves AWS KMS unencrypted. So it is a single symmetric key is a single 256-bit encryption key, and the asymmetric key is a combination of public key and the private key pair. Okay, that is as of now you can understand in terms of symmetric and asymmetric key. Let's talk about its feature. So there are different features with this particular service, and before we go deep with the features, let me tell you one thing. If you are preparing for your AWS Security Specialty exam, I recently passed it, and these two services like AWS IAM and AWS KMS will cover most of the part in the exam. Like I can say 60% part they'll cover in the exam. So the KMS key knowledge you need very deep, and also with the IAM users, role, policies, access control, and everything, right? So if you are preparing for that, I recommend you guys to go through these two services in very deep, read all the FAQs, try some hands-on with these two services if you haven't done any, and try to learn these two services, how they can secure the different application data and how can they be used for different access and control management. So KMS, with KMS, you will get a centralized key management. You can always use the AWS Manage Keys, and there is another option to custom key store where the customer can bring their keys and can store into the KMS, right? Similarly, you can always integrate this service with the other AWS services. Here is a whole list of the services. So it integrates with the AWS service to encrypt the data at the rest. And yeah, to protect the data into the rest, integrate AWS services use the envelope encryption, okay, where a data key is used to encrypt the data, and it itself encrypt under a CMK store in the KMS, right? So have you heard about envelope encryption initially? If you are hearing it first time, I'll recommend you to go through and do some research on the envelope encryption, how it works, okay? Uh, yeah, so if you can see here, it's a full list of AWS services integrated with the AWS KMS, and you will find almost every service here, okay? And next you have the audit capabilities. You can always do the auditing part on your keys. You can always enable CloudTrail within your account, and who is making the request for the KMS key at what time, all will be recorded in the CloudTrail part, right? And you can always use those logs for your auditing purpose. And KMS Key is a fully managed service. It is provide you the high scalability, durability, and high availability in terms of managed services. Okay, and as we talk about its durability, so you can read it here. It has 11 nines of durability. Okay, in terms of security, it is designed in a way that as I have already told you, right, it will be validated with the FIPS 142, and also protect the confidentiality and the integrity of our keys, right? Also, we have the option of custom key store. So the custom key store will provide you the access for storing your own key. You can always bring your key. You can always keep your keys over there securely, right? You have the option of asymmetric keys. You have the option of symmetric key as well, right? And if we talk about the other compliances, right? So AWS KMS follow all these compliances. Like it has this service organization control 1, 2, and 3, PCI DSS level 1. This we already have talked about, and the HIPAA compliance as well. Like you can freely use this service uh, in your healthcare and other product as well. Let's talk about the pricing part of it as well, like how it will gonna charge you, right? So each customer master key, okay, the CMK is you create in the AWS Key Management Service will cost you the $1 per month, okay, until we delete it. So be remember this part, like if you need it, you can create it, but if you are not using it after creating, it's still charging you for the $1 per month, right? And you can always check upon your reasons, like in what region you are using. So suppose I'm using in Asia Pacific Singapore, so I can see all the pricing details here, that these 10,000 per request, again the 10K request involving the RSA 2048 keys, like that, right? You always have the custom key store available. You always have the free tier options as well, where you can provide a free the AWS provides a free tier of 20,000 requests per month, okay? And yeah, this is how you can check for the cost before using it. Okay, so let's quickly go to the demo part. Let's go and check how we can create the KMS key, and how does the console look like, okay? So this is our AWS account. Let's search for KMS, the Key Management Service. Yeah, so this is our console for KMS Key. So here pretty much details are here for how you can use it, how it works, what are the different benefits, as we already talked about auditing, compliance, security, encryption, centralized management, fully managed service, etc. Right? Okay. On the left hand side, you can always see the AWS Manage Key, the customer Manage Key, and the custom key stores. So if you go to the AWS Manage Key, you can see that these are some of the keys for some of the services I have used in my account. So if let's click on one of them, AWS S3. So what you can see here is you can see the ARN here. You can see the status, it is enabled. You can see the regionality. Okay. You can see the policy attached to it. So if you see what this policy is saying is encryption, decryption, re-encryption, generate data key, describe key, right? And you have your resource also with certain conditions and all that, right? And let's click on the cryptography configuration. Here you will find the what is the key type. We talk about two types. Okay. And yeah, the other information like key uses, key specifications, and origin, right? Let's click on the customer managed key. So there is no customer managed key till now, and that is custom key storage. Okay, so you can always use to have the custom key storage, and for that you need to create this particular cluster for cloud HSM, right? Let's not go into the cloud HSM part. We'll cover into a separate session because it requires a separate session for the cloud HSM only. So let's talk about the KMS and let's create a KMS key, right? So I want to create a symmetric key where a public key and the private key will be there. Okay, and what will be the key uses? So my key I'm gonna use for encryption and decryption purpose. Okay, so once I choose the uses, it is asking me the specifications like what I want to choose. So if you are not sure about it, you can always go to help me to choose, right? It will give you the background of all three different keys. What are they and for which use case you want to use which one, right? So let's say I'm choosing the 2048 as of now. In the advanced option, you always have the option of regionality, as I showed you in the managed services, managed key, that it was a single region key. You can always choose it. So I want it to be region specific for my use case. Okay. Now it is asking me the show demo KMS app one. Okay. Description I can give for demo app. Okay. And again uh, tags you can assign that will again help you to uh, track your keys and look after your keys in a very good manner, right? Go to the next. Now define the key administrative permissions. Okay, so whatever the key you have created, it will you can assign it with the different roles whatever you have in your account. Okay, and yeah, so I want to assign it with the AWS debriefer access role. Okay, allow key administrator to delete the key. So this is the option for the key deletion, and you can always choose it. This is an optional. So I'll just mark it as a click. Okay, we'll go next. You can define the key uses permission. So again, I'll choose it. If you want to add the another account also, you want to make a use of key in your other specific account as well, then you can also add your account. Here you can review your complete KMS key before creating its a type. What are the key specifications? What is the uses? It's for encryption and decryption. What is the regionality? Okay, and what is the key policy? So this is the key policy in the JSON format. You can see here, and you can click on finish. So it will give you the key, and this is particular is the key ID. You can again click on this and you can see all the details over here. Okay. The key policies, key users. So who is the key users here? This particular role. And cryptographic configuration and tags. You can always see the public key here if you want to make use of it. As I mentioned, we have created the asymmetric key, and which is having a combination of private key and the public key, right? Yeah, so here you can find the aliases and aliases URN as well. So this is the ARN, actual ARN with the key, and this is a again ARN for the alias. So this is how you can create and make use of KMS key as well. So in this session, we covered IAM, the basic IAM basics and the KMS basics, how the different options are there. And in the demo, we saw that how to create the roles, policies, users, group, and the different KMS keys, right? So this is all for today's session. We will definitely connect and will come up with new services and the advanced services of the AWS security in upcoming session. Till then, take care and be safe and keep learning. Thank you.